Hello everyone. So today I'm going to show you guys how to lose fat effectively. Now this is a problem that I've come across in my life very often, and it's been a hard problem to solve. Believe it or not, people think that it's very easy just to eat nothing and to lose weight. It's definitely not like that. Trust me. There's so many people that struggle with this problem and they find it really hard, and it's not just as simple as just cutting down calories. It's just not as simple as calories in versus calories out, as people might say. So the first thing we're going to look at is fat loss is not the same as weight loss. Let me just make that clear. So I used to actually look at the scale as somewhere where it would hold all of my value. So I used to literally think that if I weigh less, then maybe that's tied to my value. So I would look at the scale every single day, which was completely unhealthy. It was probably one of the worst things that you could do, is to look at the scale every day. So what you want to do is you want to lose fat, not muscle. That's the main predominant thing that you want to do. You want to focus on your body composition. So when I switched over from looking at the scales and seeing my weight every single day, I switched over to something else, such as looking at myself in the mirror and seeing exactly how I wanted to look, basically, which was a little bit healthier, but it still was kind of unhealthy at the time. And you also want to focus on muscle preservation. That is a big key. Trust me, you want muscle. And even if you're a girl, trust me, you do want that muscle there. There's no way that you can actually be a bulky girl unless you actually do everything wrong. So let me just tell you guys how this works and how to lose fat effectively. The first one I would say is to say no to fad diets. I used to use these diets quite a lot. I used to use If It Fits Your Macros, Atkins diet. Veganism. I went vegan for 6 months and I completely lost my hair due to nutrient deficiencies and a permeable gut lining, basically. So what fad diets are is they're basically unsustainable. They're overly restrictive and they don't address your body's unique needs. Now, if you're looking for a diet, I want you to avoid these quick fixes and extreme results. Although many people may post pictures of extreme results and stuff like that, trust me, you want to avoid it and avoid their advice too, because they most likely don't know what they're talking about and done something very extreme, which, bear in mind, I used to do all of this stuff. So I used to do extreme diets, so I know exactly how they work. What I want you to do is I want you to instead embrace clean eating. So this would be prioritizing whole and unprocessed foods, such as vegetable, fruits, high quality proteins and healthy fats. You also want to avoid added sugars, refined carbs, artificial additives and inflammatory foods. Now, when I say inflammatory foods, people get quite confused as to what I mean. I mean identifying food sensitivities. So when it comes to identifying food sensitivities, I would say to go with the AIP diet. So everybody's bodies are vastly different, right? And I never quite got the hang of this concept earlier on, but now I have. So now I understand that people are very different in terms of their tolerances to specific things, such as gluten, dairy, lactose, everything like that. So what I would say is to use the AIP diet to weed out triggers. Now, what is the AIP diet? It's the autoimmune protocol diet. What this does is it basically gets you to remove any of these things that cause inflammation in your body. So nightshade vegetables, gluten, dairy, all of those things. Like it says here, intolerances to gluten or dairy reduces inflammation, enhances digestion and improves energy. And you want this. Trust me, you want this. So basically, once you're doing the AIP diet, what it basically does is eliminate and reintroduce foods. And by doing this, you'll find out what exactly you're sensitive to. So for me, for instance, I have gluten intolerance. So it's best for me not to have any types of bread or anything like that. I do have the occasional sourdough, but there are other things such as dairy too. So some person might just be susceptible to problems when they have cheese or dairy or any of those things. So I want you to actually go through this AIP diet and find out what exactly are your food triggers. Make a note of them in the journal or a journal. Moving on to the next point, prioritizing nutrient-dense foods. I want you to build meals around proteins such as grass-fed meat, wild fish, and pasture-raised eggs. So for fats, I want you to build it around avocado, olive oil, coconut oil, and nuts. If you are tolerant to that, because trust me, some people aren't actually tolerant to nuts. Like, they get really bad allergies, and a new innovation actually, I have turned out to be allergic to specific kinds of nuts. I never was before. Currently, I don't know the mechanisms behind this, but I will find out. I wasn't allergic to many things in my early life. I was basically immune to almost anything. But later down the line, because of my diet, I ended up being very allergic to specific types of things. Now, this causes a huge amount of problems, and especially for me, it causes a huge amount of problems. So I wanted to mitigate this, and the best way to mitigate it is to do the AIP diet and find out which foods you're actually intolerant to. So moving on to the next point, you want to have vegetables such as leafy greens, cruciferous vegetables, or colorful produce, meaning all of these lovely things like vivid colors like beetroot and stuff like that. So a tip is to eat healthy carbs such as sweet potato if you are tolerant to sweet potato or quinoa and stuff like that. Now, there are some lifestyle tips that I would like you to go over. So the basic necessities are sleep 7 to 9 hours. What this does is it balances your cortisol and promotes recovery. I would say to sleep at a set time each day and wake up at the same time each day. This basically helps your circadian rhythm. And trust me, you want this because it helps so many of our bodily functions. Moving on to the next point, exercise. I want you to do resistance training. It's mandatory. So look, strength training is incredibly good for you. It leads to muscle preservation and fat burning. Cardio. Now, cardio, I would say to pick your favorite aerobic exercise. Some people like biking, some people like running like me, some people like doing the rowing machine and stuff like that. So pick one exercise that you can do on a frequent basis. If you're elderly, I would suggest to do walks after you've had your food in the evening because that improves digestion. So pick one aerobic activity. This improves your heart health and it helps you burn calories. Now, for stress management, this is incredibly important. Stress can do numbers to your hormones. Chronic stress can actually lead to fat storage. And if you're anything along the South Asian descent or South Indian descent, this can be a huge problem for you. South Asians and Indians are genetically susceptible to more stress. And, you know, their bodies already store a lot of fats from what's happened to them in their country in the past. So when Britain invaded, basically, there was a lot of things going on. There was basically poverty and, you know, the whole system was messed up. And what that caused was famines. So people would store fats into their bodies. So I want you to manage that stress effectively. Moving on to the next point, drink more water. Now, people see this as something to just ignore. I don't want you to ignore it. It's very important. I want you to have 2 to 4 liters of water every single day. Women will probably need less than the recommended amount for men, but still make sure you get that water in because it's really essential for your health. It supports the metabolism, it reduces hunger, and it flushes out toxins. What really helped me when it came to tracking fat loss was keeping a journal. What you want to do is you want to keep a journal for energy levels, digestion, and recovery. This in turn will improve your systems and your processes in trying to lose fat. So now we come to Tush's tips, which are my tips. And the best things that I've done in my entire life when trying to lose fat is to meal prep. So since I work about 40 hours a week, it's incredibly hard to actually fit my days in and try to make everything from scratch. So I'll bulk cook like lean proteins, vegetables, and I'll just put them together and pair them together in single ingredient dishes. And then I'll take a Tupperware or a glass tub to work and I would have my food in that. So the next one is the most crucial one of them all. Intermittent fasting. This has by far been the number one thing that's helped me lose fat. Why? Because intermittent fasting actually clears out your gut. So if you do a fasting period every single week, this will help you tremendously. I cannot stress how much this will help you. You want to have an intermittent fasting period, maybe probably like 1 week. You skip the food for 1 day of that week. So you would want to have a fasting window of like 16 to 8, or you can do an even bigger window if you want to, or a smaller window. But I would recommend you do 6 hours where you eat and the rest where you just completely fast, do a water fast. This really helped me lose fat. It really did. And every week I have a designated day where I actually intermittently fast, and that helps me. It helps me lose fat. It helps me keep on track, especially when it comes down to Christmas time and like Thanksgiving time and stuff like that. You see me, I love my mince pies. I have always been a big foodie. So when I eat all of those mince pies, I feel horrible afterwards. So this would keep me in check, intermittent fasting. So the day after me eating about 40 mince pies, I would literally intermittently fast. This would in turn clear out my gut and then reset me for the next day. So just keep in mind all of these things when trying to lose fat effectively, because I'm quite sure that it's really hard for some people and it's a lot easier for other people. I mean, I always found it really bad, and I always used to struggle when I was young, and I looked around at other people and I just was so confused. I was thinking that, you know, this person eats like a horse and I barely eat anything any day. So how do they look skinny and I don't? And it literally came to my mind, people are very different. The process behind the things are very different. People are genetically different. People are environmentally different. People have different things and different bodies and different systems. And you have to cater to your own system. So you have to find out something that works. And with this system here, you'll be able to find out what works individually for you. So thank you for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe if you found this useful. Have a lovely day.